Hello, so I was requested to test this gas mask, so I thought I'd do a review and test it. It is the Polish MC-1 mask, and this is also known as the Czech CM-3. Now, I don't have a Czech CM-3 because it's basically the same mask, and I don't really want to get the same mask multiple times, but supposedly the Czech CM-3 is like a higher quality version of this mask. Supposedly the only real difference is the rubber's a bit nicer. It's the same sort of rubber as the M10 and CM4, and it's got apparently better straps. So maybe if I see one of those really cheap, I'll get one just for novelty's sake. Now, please, 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 if you get one of these masks, don't use this filter. For everything we know, it probably has asbestos in. Now, I've never had it confirmed, but I really wouldn't trust it because it's been made in the Warsaw Pact to the same sort of standards as Russian gas mask filters in a period where everybody put asbestos in the filters. So I would personally say do not risk trying one of these. What you want to do, as I have said multiple times, is get one of these filters. This is a modern Polish one made by Mask. This is a Polish mask, so there we go. Just put that on. And there we go. Or you could get the modern Russian Army ones, because modern Russian Army uses GOST. Well, they have two filters. They use GOST, and they also use their own kind of proprietary filter for the PMK3. But obviously they still do make some GOST filters, so you want to get the modern Russian Army GOST one if you don't get this Polish one. But obviously you need to get a GOST filter, not a NATO STANAG, because it's a Polish mask from the Cold War, so it's a GOST connector. So here's the mask. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. It's one of my least favourite gas masks, and there's not really anything really wrong with the mask. The issue is, it's basically, what they intended was this to be a very lightweight, cheap to make mask, and they obviously succeeded in that, but it's not that comfortable. The filter puts too much weight to the front of the mask, and it has no speech diaphragm. So it's this sort of ugly, snouty mask that sort of works. But anyway, the point of this video is to do a test on it and see if this old model still works. Let me find the year of production for you. It looks like there's 95 on there, but I doubt that's it. There's also one that looks like it says 80 something that's faded off. So I'm imagining it's a 1980 something model where it's folded, faded off. Again, all the stamps on the inside are totally faded. So I will put the mask on for you so you can see it on. Now, as much as I complain about it, it does at least have some anti-fogging things, but it does have no inner mask. So you might see on the eyepieces, I have put some of that anti-dim sort of horrible chap stuff on it that smells sort of like some sort of pig lard. But anyway, so I'm going to put the mask on, then we're going to do the normal aerosol gas test. And if it works, and that's good. It's a very cheap mask if you're interested in getting one, but as I said, I'm personally not a fan of it because I just find it uncomfortable and I'd rather just have a GP5 in all honesty. But as many of you know, my favourite Ivan mask, sort of Soviet Cold War one, is the SHMS. So that would be the mask I go for over any of these. So let's get it on. Just tighten the straps. There's a strap to tighten up here somewhere. I can't really see it if there is. Sure, there must be. Oh, it might be one of those several point thread harness ones. But right, I think that's an airtight seal. It's probably as good as I'm going to get it. That's a bit tighter again. So anyway, let's test the mask now and see if it works. Right. I'm just going to spray some of this lavender deodorant sort of air freshener that's quite strong, then we'll test it. Right, okay. So if I can smell it, the mask has failed because I know the filters work. And it's about 1 minute past 1, so I'll give it a couple of minutes and then test, see if I can smell anything. So the mask's quite primitive, but it was cheap to make, which is obviously why they liked it. So you see it's very simple. It's got a bit of a nose bump there. It's not fogging up too badly today actually. But as my cold's still lingering on, I should say doing a gas mask test with a cold isn't too scientific because it reduces my sense of smell anyway. At the moment it seems to be working. Let's get that just a little bit tighter. Ah, see, that breached it just then. This is another one of those masks where it has a really dodgy chin section. See, that's fine again. But this is one of the things I want to point out that's bad with a lot of mask designs. Is a lot of masks have chins where the slightest movement breaks the seal at your chin because there's nothing that keeps the chin section tight. I don't know if you can see that there. That's a poor design. So that is a fault with the mask. It's the same problem that the Draeger M65 has and many of its clones. So funny enough, when the Czechs had this Czechoslovakia as a CM-3, when they went to the CM-4 they didn't fix the problem. But, saying that, other than that, yeah, it's a cheap, effective mask. I said I'd rather just have a GP5 because the thing I like about the sort of helmet-style hood masks, you can put them on very easily without messing around with straps. And they do make an airtight seal. So, yeah, the mask does seem to be working, but as I said, be advised if you're using one of these that there's this chin sort of fault around here, where it's very easy to break the seal with your chin because it doesn't go far enough into your face kind of thing. But to me, this is like the Warsaw Pact version of the French M51 gas mask. It sort of does its job, but there's so many ways it could go wrong that I really wouldn't trust my life on it. Now, I think that the Soviet-style exhale valves in this are a bit better than the awful exhale valve on the M51, but both of those masks, are very, very primitive. But as I've said before, if you're on a budget and you need to make the max amount of gas mask possible, something that's primitive but at least works is good because it will save lives. And as I also have said in this video, do not use this filter. If you get the mask with this filter, there's a likelihood it could have asbestos and other nasties in it. Don't use it. Keep it on display. It's not going to harm you if you don't do anything stupid with it. But please don't breathe through it. Get a proper modern GOST filter that's been made to some sort of decent standard. But yes, to answer your question, this old Polish MC-1 is still working. The seals are still good, like with most Russian masks. I know this is technically Warsaw Pact, not Russians, but the Soviets were the ones occupying Czechoslovakia. So the mask works well enough for what it is. As I said, I'm not a fan of it, but it does pass the test. And I imagine by extension, sorry, I want to say Czechoslovakia, I mean Poland for this one, but Poland was occupied, obviously, the same as Czechoslovakia, by the Soviets, with an occupation government. But both masks are pretty much the same design. Supposedly the Czech version is of better quality, but the Polish one does work anyway. But I said with Polish masks I prefer the MUA or the OM14 because they're the helmet style hood masks. And I hear the Polish, I think it's the Polish MP5, like not as in the submachine gun, but I think the mask is actually called the MP5. Is a very nice mask. It's based on a French mask and apparently it's very good, but the MP4 is a cheek filter mask, and obviously you know how I hate cheek filter masks, but apparently the MP5 is good. So, there you go. I'll break the seal and check I can smell. Yeah, I can smell that. So, whoever asked the question, yes, the Polish MC-1 does pass the test, so that's good. You have a working mask that passes the test, but I'm not a fan of the mask, and just because it passes a test isn't going to change my opinion that they could have done a much better job designing this, but it does work, so there you go.